Hello, hi there. Good morning, and welcome to Female Leaders on Fire Live. And we're on episode number 3 today. So last week we were talking about the superpowers of female leaders, and this week we're talking about how to go from feeling overwhelmed to being on fire. So I would love to know if you can hear me okay, and if it's all coming up, just pop a comment in so that I know that I am actually live and it's all working, because it doesn't seem to come very high up in the feed. So yeah, or if you're watching on replay, feel free to ask any questions as I go through, and just feel free to join in the discussion and the conversation. And my partner is in the house today, so I told him explicitly not to come in right now. Because he tends to just relax a lot at home and not always be wearing clothes. So he's explicitly been told not to come in right now. So hi, Isabel, how are you? Good to have you here. Where are you, Isabel? So as you come on, say hello, let me know that you're here, and also let me know, where are you in the world? Because I'm down in Cornwall. And yeah, it's a nice-ish day today. But anyway, so let's get chatting. So first of all, just to introduce myself, for those that don't know me, so I'm Nicola Buckley. I help female leaders in the corporate world. I help them to find their fire, so refine that passion, that excitement, that purpose, so that they can have more impact and more influence and more income as a result, and also be a real force for good in the corporate world. So I do that by working with corporate organizations and running leadership programs. And I also do that by working with Milton Keynes. Oh, yes, I know Milton Keynes. Excellent. Good to have you here, Isabel. And I also do that by working with clients one-to-one, either on coaching programs or through my VIP Find Your Fire program. So that's who I am and what I do. And I've been wanting to do just this LinkedIn Live. I've applied 5 times and I got it about 3 weeks ago. So we're going to be here twice a week. So on a Monday, I'm going to be here on my own. And then on a Wednesday, I'm going to be here with brilliant women and men from my network, just to talk about certain subjects that really impact on people. Hi, Ambreen. Is that how you say your name? Ambreen, what a lovely name. Good to have you here. Where in the world are you? So today I'm going to be talking about how to go from feeling overwhelmed to feeling like you're on fire. So if you have felt overwhelmed, if you are feeling overwhelmed, just pop it in the comments, because this is something that I see women in the corporate world struggle with again and again and again. So if this is something that you're prone to, that time when you're feeling overwhelmed, you feel like there's so much going on, you don't know where to start, you're feeling like your head is fit to burst, you're feeling like maybe you're dropping the ball of things because there is so much to do, and you just have that physical reaction of overwhelm, of like your heart racing. You feel like you've got a bit of brain fog. It might feel like you're almost feel a bit unsteady, maybe sweaty palms. I know that I get that. You're certainly not alone with feeling like this. And just that feeling of overwhelm can become really, really all-consuming. And it's something that I see a lot of my clients really struggling with. So if you are struggling with overwhelm, or you have done, just pop it in the comments, but know that you're in good company. But also know that there's reasons behind it, and know that there's ways to kind of get past that, to get back to that sense of feeling on fire again. So overwhelm is essentially where we're probably taking on so much that we're at a point where we can't take on anymore. And I've studied neuroscience for a long time, so I like to geek out on the neuroscience behind what's going on for the women that I work with. So overthinking is essentially where our brain can't take on the information. It can't just process everything. So our brain was actually designed when we were cavemen and women, and it was designed at a time when life was a lot simpler, and there wasn't social media, and we didn't have phones that we spend so much time on, and we didn't have the bosses demanding things of us, and we didn't have all those roles and responsibilities. Life was much simpler then. So really overwhelm is when we're getting to the point where there's too much going on, and the brain is getting to the point where it can't cope with all the information, because the brain is this incredible supercomputer, but it was designed at a point when there wasn't such constant stimulation and constant messaging and information. And actually we receive millions and millions of information every second through all of our 6 senses, and then that goes into a part of the brain called the amygdala to kind of process it. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, know that it's essentially the same as if you're looking at your computer now. I love this analogy because I'm guilty of this, certainly. But really, when you're overwhelmed, it's similar to when you're looking at your computer and you've got so many tabs open that you're not as effective, and you're not as processing things as quickly. You're not getting things done because you've got all of those tabs open. So I would just invite you right now just to have a look at how many tabs you've got open on your computer, because that might be part of your overwhelm, might actually be coming from that as well. So overwhelm is essentially where we have so much information, the brain is finding it difficult and a challenge to process so much information. So if we're just taking all that information from those six senses, the brain is this incredible supercomputer, but it just needs some help managing all that information so it knows what's important, it knows what to look for. And there's a whole process that I'll go into another day called the reticular activating system, RAS system. So the more that we're clear on what we want and what we're looking for, the more the brain looks for that information. So essentially, overwhelm is when you have your brain has got so many tabs open that the processing slows down. So there's not that clarity, there's not that confidence to take action because you're kind of stuck in that feeling. So overwhelm can then lead into overthinking. So overthinking is when you get really stuck in your head and you're analysing every scenario and you're thinking about the what ifs, and if I do this, this might happen, and what will the impact be? So that's kind of when you're essentially your reaction is to freeze. And then on the flip side of that, you can have it where you start what Brené Brown calls overfunctioning. So it might be that you're overwhelmed, you go into overfunctioning, which is kind of when you're just in doing mode. So you're constantly kind of doing and you're overfunctioning. So Brené Brown gave this example of when her mum was ill and she was in hospital, and she was the one who started to organise getting her mum some clean clothes, organise telling people what had happened, organise getting people there to visit her mum, and she just went into this overfunctioning mode, which is kind of like her default when she's feeling stressed. So that overwhelm is very much related to the overthinking, which essentially is when you freeze, or it can be overfunctioning, which is essentially where you kind of you go into flight mode and you're just in doing. Oh really? Oh Isabel, that's super frustrating. Yeah, maybe time is that your computer telling you to have a bit of time away and a bit of a break to kind of go again. I think it's lunchtime as well, isn't it? So what is the impact? What is the impact when you're having that overwhelm? What's it actually doing for you? It's actually making you have less impact. It's making you have less influence. You're almost becoming invisible, because overwhelm is a sign that you're giving so much and you're doing so much. There's just too much going on, and you're almost devaluing yourself. You're devaluing your impact and your skills by having a diary that's jam-packed, by taking on another development opportunity, by saying yes to your boss when you actually want to say no, by maybe not having as many of those boundaries. So that overwhelm can be very much really down to that giving away of your time and your energy and your love too freely. And that's when you can get really frustrated, because you're giving so much that you're not getting the respect, the recognition, feeling valued, having that impact and influence that you actually want to. Is that making sense? Because it's down to you to own your value and worth. It's down to you to role model what impact you can have. It's down to you to kind of have a diary that you have some time to do the big thinky stuff as well as the firefighting. It's down to you to say no to your boss if he's making demands that are superhuman, or for them, doesn't need to be him, sorry, for them to make a choice what is more important for them about what you need to deliver. Is it project A or project B, or firefighting project C? And it's really down to you to demonstrate and role model to everyone what your impact can be, what your influence can be. And if you're overwhelmed, that really kind of, that just takes away from it. And it can make you almost invisible when you're giving so much, and your diary is manic in your, when we were in the office, last in and first out, and just giving so much and always available. It just makes you seem like you're always going to be there, and that just really means you're not as appreciated. It means that you're not as respected, you're not as valued, but you've created that. But if you've created it, if we take that radical responsibility, you can also change that. This is within your gift to change whenever you want. And it might be a course correction. So some people might react, and people might not like that because they're used to you saying yes. But actually what comes out of that is a course correction that's needed to demonstrate your value and worth, to role model to others that Actually, you're here to have a big impact and a big influence and to be a real force for good in the business. Is this making sense? Is this making sense? If you're still watching live, just let me know. Just give me a thumbs up or love heart if this is all making sense. It'd be great to know. So how do we start to change that? What are the super simple ways that we can start to step away from overwhelm and start to get back to feeling on fire again? So the first step is very much about just that realization that doubling your effort doesn't mean doubling your results. So if you're the first online and the last offline, and week after week of doing that and giving so much, being the one that's there in the firefight and the one giving so much of yourself and taking on those development opportunities, or being part of the team that's firefighting, but also you're responsible for strategy, but you're not getting the time for that, it's kind of assumed that you're always going to be there. You're kind of taken for granted, and you're always giving that constant maximum amount of effort. And giving so much of that and so much of yourself really downplays your impact. And working such long hours mean you're not at your best. It might be that you've got a froggy brain. It might be that you're rushing through work. It might be that you're responding emotionally to an email instantly rather than maybe taking some time to think about it, or saying something that in a meeting that you later regret, rather than giving yourself a little bit of time to ground in that meeting and then say something really powerful and impactful. So let's just be really clear here that when you're overwhelmed, doubling the effort doesn't mean double the results. And actually, you never get less overwhelmed by doing more. You never feel that, you never get that clear head by just in doing mode and just pushing through. It doesn't work like that. And actually, I see women get to the point of almost self-sacrificing, even having that sense of martyrdom, and just that constant spinning of plates. And this is for you to own and you to change. So that's number one. Double the effort doesn't mean double the results. So let's get super clear on that when you're feeling overwhelmed. Number two is then take time to stop. So if you're always on the go and you don't take that time to stop, if everyone else is coming first, it feels like you're stuck in that Groundhog Day, and it feels like you're just going to keep going. But if you're feeling like you're not having the impact and the influence you want to, it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for you to keep going. So let's try something different. Take that time to pause. Take that time to stop. Take that time to check in with yourself. And just, even if it's just 10 minutes over a cup of tea, even if it's just a walk at lunchtime, even if it's just finishing on time for a day, but just take that time to stop and check in and really see how you're feeling. Like I said, you don't get less overwhelmed by doing more. That doesn't work. So try something different. You don't solve those problems and get past that overwhelm by behaving in the same way. And actually, from a neuroscience point of view, when you're in doing mode, the brain waves are spiking close together like this. That's not where the thoughts come in. That's not where those brilliant inspired pieces of thinking come in that solves that thing you've been struggling with, that firefights in a different way, that has a different perspective. Actually, when you relax and you switch off, brainwaves are long and looping like this. So there's opportunity to have that big idea, for that idea to spike and to have that moment of inspiration. So take some time to stop is number two. Number three is to write down how you feel. So rather than just being stuck on that treadmill and keep going, when you're feeling overwhelmed, take that time to stop. But when you stop as well, just empty your head of everything. Empty your head of everything that you feel that you need to do, everything that you're feeling, everything that you're thinking, and just see what's there for you. Because if you just keep going and you're in such overwhelm that you're too scared to stop, you're never going to connect back to yourself. So you're going to be living by your old subconscious framework that was probably developed when you were a child. And so many of the women that I work with, the struggles really come down to beliefs that are set when they're a child that they're still living by now. And really, when you sit down, take time to stop and then write down how you feel, you're shining the light on what's going on for you. You're really finding out what your truth is, and you're starting to make sense and maybe seeing where your beliefs aren't fitting you. So something really super simple to start with is a 5-minute journal that you can order on online, that just takes 5 minutes a day, that is a check-in with you, that is really there, a reset and clear your head every single day. So that's number three. Number four is feed your passions. So as we grow up and we get more adulty and we take more responsibility, And our time can just be really swallowed up by a busy life. And for women as well, we have those invisible tasks. So it might be that we've got children, or it might be that we've got something that we need to do in relation to our house, or it might be that we're cooking dinner that evening. So we've got all those adulting bits and all those areas of responsibility, and time can really get swallowed up in a busy life. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's really amazing to have that time to switch off and have something that is really feeding a passion of yours. Is getting past that being stuck in my head and kind of trying to logic out and do what I need to do. It's instead going to be about getting back into connecting to you and getting back into what's important and getting back into the appreciation for the life that you've created and what you can actually do. So just feed your passion. Sounds a strange one in reaction to being overwhelmed, but actually you book those in consistently. You're reminding yourself every time you do that, you remind yourself of your value and your worth. And then you start to role model that to other people as well. And then the final one I want to talk about, the fifth one, is all about setting those boundaries. So be super clear and protect you and protect your time and your energy. So be clear on the boundaries of what you are willing and not willing to tolerate and accept. So, for example, honor that time for yourself, like you would a meeting with someone or an appointment. You wouldn't break that unless you had to. You wouldn't not show up. So don't do that to yourself, and be that role model, not only to other people, but to yourself, of how you want to be treated. So, for example, when I first start working with a lot of clients, they might have neglected their health and they might have an overdue appointments for health checks. But it's booking that in and honoring it, and just making sure that you're role modeling how valuable you are and what an impact you can have. And set those boundaries as well around your time and your energy. And the world is very divisive at the moment, and there's a lot of polarizing opinions on social media. So choose what you want to see, choose what you want to see in your LinkedIn feed or online, and consciously choose that, but also choose your start time for work, choose your finish time, be clear when you are available and you're not available if you're juggling family and home. So really set your boundaries, be brave with them, be bold with them, and know people will react. There will be a bit of a course correction, but also know that you are role modeling. Every time you say no, you're role modeling your value and your worth. So that's the 5 steps that I wanted to talk about today. And I'll go back through them in a minute and just do a bit of a recap. But I would love to know what you think. What do you tend to do when you're overwhelmed? What really works well for you? Let's start that conversation. That it's okay. Like, if you think of the year that we've had and what women leaders have had to do in that year and how they've stepped up to the plate to save businesses, to juggle family and home, to really just to drive things forward and to own that firefighting and the strategizing as well. It's a lot to take on. We've seen the stats of women being more adversely affected. So it's in your gift to always be able to step out the overwhelm, and you don't do that. The final point I want to say is you don't feel less overwhelmed by doing more. So stop trying to work your way out of it. It doesn't work like that. So let's just go back through and recap. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, 5 things you can do instantly. Just remind yourself, double the effort doesn't mean double the results. If you're working really long hours and you're giving a lot, you're not going to be at your best. You're not going to be having the impact you want to. You're not going to have that influence and just be able to show up in the best way possible for that big meeting or that board presentation. You're going to show up tired or with a foggy brain, and you're going to rush through work. So really know that double your effort doesn't mean double your results. Number 2, take time to stop. So stop and pause, be really brave and know when you need it, and try and do it before you actually need it. You're kind of forced into it. So even if it's 10 minutes for a cup of tea, going out for a walk, take that time to stop and clear your head. Number 3, write down how you feel. So when you stop, take that time and just empty your head of everything you need to do, everything you're thinking, everything you're feeling, things you're worried about. It's like a dustpan brush to your brain. I call it a mental vomit. It's just a mental vomit. Don't worry about spelling or grammar. Just write down everything that you're feeling. Number 4 is feed your passions. So rather than just the day-to-day and the grind of the everyday, bring some of that passion and that joy back. How does that relate to work? As well, if you feel love and connection in one area, you're going to feel that, you're going to understand and see how that relates to your work as well. Do you have that in your work? Is that something you don't expect from your work? But honor that time, and that is really role modeling to yourself and to others your value and your worth. And then the final one is set your boundaries. So that might involve course correction. It might involve people reacting as you say that you're not available at certain times, or there's meetings you're not going to go to anymore, or you're going to hand them over to your team. And people will react to that, but that's okay. You're resetting and role modeling your value and your worth. And those boundaries just become then known. They become, you own them, and then people know them, and then that becomes how you show up in the world, and that gives you more energy to have more impact when you are in those big meetings. So own those boundaries. Think about right now what boundaries will really help you. So that's it. So final nudge with love: you will not be less overwhelmed by doing more. In fact, you're only ever going to be more overwhelmed and just really get stuck in your head. And it's really about you owning your value and worth. And knowing that the title that you've got and the job role, and you've earned it and you own it. So stop downplaying your impact and your influence by just giving so much and just really getting stuck in that overwhelm. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to be back on Wednesday discussing the same topic with a couple of incredible women that I love to bits. I would love to know how you get out of overwhelm. And if you're feeling like that at the moment and you think I can help, just drop me a message and I will share. Just share how I can help you and how I can support you. That's it for today. Hope you have a great Monday. Lots of love. Bye. Oh, you're welcome, Gemma. I've just seen your comment. You're very welcome, Gemma. Anything particularly resonate with you and Victoria? Really helpful. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Let me know any other subjects you want me to chat about. We've got a good long list. So yeah, but happy Monday. Hope you have a great day and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.